So you started out like many and most traders seem to. You were gravitating, even though you were working with power companies. You weren't
Yes.
trading. You weren't trading, oil or electricity or gas. But you got interested again because of the equity and the information
Absolutely.
databases that were available. You started with equities.
Purely equities, because only equities, and in those days, as a part of a group, we were trading equities, and it was great because in 1998, I'm sure you remember 1998, 1999, 2000, the internet was just a bull market, so I really got in, I think I was really lucked out, and then we started this, and it was phenomenal at the time. And so that's how I transitioned into it. And then, of course, my path of actually becoming a successful trader, has a different turn. But that's how I actually got it started into the markets.
Did you from the early days, Suri? Were you a technical chart guy? And
Yes.
Was that something you had to kind of learn?
Well, actually, when I started with these traders, they actually taught me some of the ropes of the market. Basically, they were seeing charts and they would have all these indicators. And so I started right from beginning, and then I realized that, this is what it is. There's quite a few aspects of it, I learned it much later. But right from beginning, I was a technical trader. Of course, I still, even now, I still look at fundamentals, because especially for the equities, and, some of the fundamentals, and, the basic one, just to want to keep abreast of some of the fundamentals. But on the other hand, I am a technical trader right from beginning, and I built all these theories and everything, as I go. But then I became a pattern trader within like 3 or 4 years or so. Right after that, I became a purely pattern-based trader, and that transition is also.
Let's talk about that transition. Did you have struggles from the get-go?
Yes,
Trading,
I tell you. This is a very important aspect of it, which has actually turned out to be very good. But what happened was, when I was first started trading, I was trading with a group of traders who are already seasoned traders. So they were making calls, and I was part of a group. So it really didn't matter, what I knew or not, because basically I was picking back with all these seasoned traders, and of course they're technical traders. They were using some of the indicators what we built it. But then what happened was, but once we went separate ways, then I became a private trader, and I became, by myself. Right. At that time, the ones which I thought they would work for me, they did not work for me. So then I had to go on a path for myself to find out what type of a trader I was. So that's where my background in mathematics, kind of helped me to realize that, I'm drawn to the patterns. Even before I was trading, looking at the patterns, but I really didn't know how to trade them. Of course, I read lots of books. I have a collection of over 400 books here, and I learned all of them, but I really didn't know how to trade it until I went solo by myself. But then I realized.
So this is interesting. You were piggybacking on some successful people. And again, probably that time, no matter what you bought, you were probably long.
That's right. Right.
No matter
exactly
what you bought, long only. They were having these big power moves. And,
absolutely.
The technicals worked because that was the time that those technicals worked. I mean, as with any markets, certain times, certain things work. And you were probably at that time where you were able to, it felt easy probably. And it probably led you, to a false security, I would imagine, a little bit.
Absolutely, because basically when I went solo, I quickly realized that some of the work we have done in the past, or some of the theses which I was working on, which is purely based on the momentum type of a trading, and that wasn't working for me as a single trader, solo trader. Right. So then I realized that I had to go and discover myself, right. And my discovery came. Then I realized that I'm a pattern based trader, and then I started out with a few known patterns. And then I started moving on to building, my own theory about it, and that's how I transitioned into pattern-based. I'm sure you probably know this, Matt, already.
No. But I agree with you. But this is great stuff, because I think it is. When I say technicals, I kind of merge both patterns and indicators, and that's how.
Absolutely.
And they are different though. But I just kind of blasé. I just kind of merge them together. But they are different, and I do use patterns, and I do use technicals, and so
absolutely.
So as an engineer, you're taught to think logically and linear almost, right? So
that's right.
If then, is the way that you're taught. So how did that hurt you? How did that help you? And when the psychological and the human emotion side of it, then when did you start learning how that affects these patterns?
Basically right off the bat, when I went a solo, then it took me 1 to 2 years to actually figure out what type of a trader I am and why some of the things which I used to do, they worked and now they don't work for me. The key aspect of it is, when I became a trader, in fact, actually most of my education, until the grad school, I never really, I always thought, psychology is I was never prepared for the psychology aspects of the science because I'm a science, major, and then I always used to think that, psychology is kind of a pseudoscience, and if you really, until you really get affected, especially in trading, you really don't pay a whole lot of, respect to the psychology. But once I realized, there is a psychological aspect which I was not prepared until I got into the markets. And then when I became a solo trader, that's when I even became that psychology has become even more bigger aspect. So I have to go and learn everything about myself, in order to become a successful trader.
Let's go there a little bit, because this is a crucial point to anybody thinking about getting into this business or improving themselves in this business.
Absolutely.
Psychology, and you said it perfectly, looking at the man in the mirror is probably the most difficult part for all human beings. And as traders, if you can't do that and do that well and be reflective and look at yourself, it's going to be it's going to be a difficult business for you. So what kind of things, again, coming from the training that you had, I don't know what kind of background history you have with faith or any of these types of things. I mean, how do you put yourself into a framework?
Absolutely. Well, first thing is, I have realized that, the key aspects of the fear and greed aspects of it, because basically I have to learn that there are certain things which we do, they are driven by the greed. For example, entering into the market, everybody expects a profit. It's like a greed. But, you exit because of a fear. So between the fear and greed, the entire market runs. So I actually had to learn it. And not only I had to learn it, I have to go and actually, figure out myself, what am I believer of it, and what type of what do I need to do? So I really didn't get any kind of a professional experience, but I actually went and analyzed myself that there are certain things which I need to do. And of course, I read some of the great books, starting from Mark Douglas, Steve Hanlon, and then the best psychologist is from the psychological books I actually read was from Ali Keefe.
And he just died in the last week.
He just recently passed away, like a week ago, something like that, about a week ago. It's unfortunate he passed away. But I have all his books, and in fact, I have learned some of the best trading, not only just a charting point of view, but actually aspects of setting the goals and then figuring it out who you are, and preparation for the market. I learned it from these books. And then, of course, in the process, I also discovered that, I am more, oriented to, I actually prepare every day myself about 90 minutes of meditation and also visualization techniques. And this is something which I've been doing it since 2005.
90 minutes. That's fantastic.
If I do not do, for example, if I'm delayed in, before the market or anything, if I cannot do on that day, I actually do not trade on that day, because
so you try to do your meditation prior to market
prior to the markets.